need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
My next question comes from Georgia again. And this one is from Bailey. Bailey writes, "Hi, Betsy. I hope all is well. We recently moved to a traditional brick home in southern Georgia and are slowly making each space more our style. Please help with our kitchen. My words are curated traditional, and I'm hoping to work within a $3,000 budget. You'll see some pictures of our kitchen. It's brown. My main question is how to dress the big window to make it a focal point. Any other suggestions about rugs and lighting would be appreciated. I just bought polished nickel cabinet hardware. There is also a picture of the rug in the disconnected living room. I included it to avoid the Skittles effect. The light blue color is the main color in the formal dining room now, and I'm going to be using it as an office and playroom. We came from Arizona, so it's more suited for the Southwest, but it's fairly new and I just don't want to ditch it yet. Do with the space what you want. Thank you, Betsy. It needs help, and I'm just not sure where to start." Well, I love that you've sent in pictures because that's always a big help. So for those of you not watching along on YouTube, let me describe it to you. Bailey's kitchen is brown. It is brown. I agree with you. So it's got mid-tone wood floors that have a very conspicuous wood grain, which I actually like. I think it gives a lot of character and drama to the space. But then the cabinets are the same wood tone, that mid-tone wood, but they are not as varied with the wood grain, and their wood grain is more subtle. Then you have a lot of bronze light fixtures. Currently, you have bronze handles on the cabinetry. You have a bronze pendant light above the kitchen. And then above the dining area that it's adjacent to, you have a bronze chandelier. You have a beautiful window that's arched, that's in the dining area, but really there's no natural light in the kitchen area, which I think is also contributing to the fact that this feels very cavey and dark. So yes, I do think that there's a lot of opportunity to make this space more interesting and more dynamic and to really embrace that window. Okay, so I do see the rug that you're bringing with you, and it is very Southwest. It has like the geometric pattern with the diamonds repeated. It has, some checks. It has a lot of different colors, including burnt orange, like a faded denim, a kind of dusty teal, and then a cream with fringe on the outside. And I really love this rug. You may think because you're coming from Arizona that it screams Southwest, but to me, it's really more, it can be used in lots of different applications, which is what I'm trying to say. However, I do not think that it aligns with your words curated traditional. I don't even think that the space aligns with your words curated traditional. When you're talking about traditional, you are talking about a lot of decorative molding, right? Which you do not have. You don't even have crown molding in this space, which for me is totally fine. But I'm just telling you that I don't think that I know. It's not think, I know that this space is not traditional. Your cabinets are not traditional. They do have an inset framing with an arch at the top, which does lend itself to something that's not contemporary, right? So I would call it transitional for sure. But you have standard baseboards. Like there's nothing really truly ornate or decorative or kind of over the top in terms of its decorative features that really for me connotes traditional. And when I'm looking at your furniture is really not traditional. In fact, your furniture, having these simple shaker back chairs that have much cleaner lines than I typically see with even transitional, these kind of lend themselves towards mid-century modern. And then you have a cabinet in the corner that looks like a bar cabinet, and it's kind of in the style of Crate and Barrel. I mean, very linear, maybe with some mild detailing, but nothing too fancy, right? And traditional feels a little fancy, and that's not what I'm getting here. You are definitely not curated traditional right now. That rug that you're bringing in could be boho, could be international, could be Southwest, certainly. It could go in several different directions. Certainly, eclectic would work well with that rug, but it is not traditional. So, the items that you're currently working with, including the architecture, including the rug, none of that is saying traditional. Additionally, I don't typically think of polished nickel as traditional. Now, there are certain applications where that can be proven wrong, but typically traditional is like a brass or gold metals, that warm metal finish. Yeah, this is not traditional. Okay. I think you need to get a lot of clarity around your two-word phrase. That being said, I can still help you dress this window. When you have an arched window, the best thing to do is to put a rod over the top of the arch. So you're going to need really long drapes because you're going to put a straight rod over the top of the arch, extending past either side of the window, and then do two panels that go all the way to the floor from the top of the rod. And the panel should just cover the window frame, but should then go out further, at least 8 to 12 inches past the window, in my opinion. So you'll hang that bracket 8 to 12 inches out past the widest point of the window frame. So that way it really enlarges this window and makes it feel much more grand than it currently feels. Now, these drapes, unless you do them double wide, which would be a lot of fabric, would not actually be something that you would draw. They would be purely decorative, adding color, pattern, texture, and really emphasizing the gorgeous height in this dining area / kitchen. But you would just leave those drapes hanging to the side all the time. And when you do want that privacy, you would close the blinds that are already on the window. That's my opinion there. And it really doesn't matter what style you're going for. That approach to this window is going to work beautifully. Then you're going to want to pull a color from your inspiration piece, and that very well could be the rug in this scenario because it's so multicolored, and use that for the drapes. And there you go. That'll solve some of the problems. And if you're going to do polished nickel on the cabinet hardware, I really want you to reconsider those light fixtures that are dangling down from the ceiling because they are going to be incongruous. So you have a lot of thoughts here, Bailey, a lot of thoughts to think through and get clarity on before you make these changes, okay? Because I'm also seeing that the door handles are bronze as well as the hinges. So do you want to reinvent the wheel? And if so, you need to have a lot of clarity on where you're driving. Get it? Wheel, driving? Okay, whatever. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.